The clock is now running on the Playbook podcast, the podcast where you take a deeper dive into the game of business, leadership, teamwork, character, the things that drive your motivation and build dedication. When you get a good look at the game plan of great business leaders, you start to formulate your own playbook and your own rise to the top. Make your next play your best play. And now, here are today's game captains, Glenn Amorell and Andy Phillips. Let's go!
Welcome back to the Playbook podcast. I'm Andy Phillips. Joining me, as always, is my partner, Glenn Amorell. Glenn, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited for our new improved version.
Yes.
Today we got a great guest. We've got Tom Garrity, which Tom works with as a consultant for the Yurconic Agency. He's with Compass Point Family Business Specialist. So, Tom, thank you for joining the podcast today. I think there's a lot we can learn from you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys, for the invitation.
Yeah, so I'll kick things off. I follow you on your social media, and one of the things that really stuck with me, and I use it. So I hear something good, which is kind of what this podcast is about, and I take it, right? So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you talk about where revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Could you elaborate a little bit on and what that means to a business owner?
Yeah, thanks. Well, thanks for following. That's how I know that, that somebody's following the social media. When we're working with family businesses, there's all family businesses sit inside of a system, and the system consists of the family and ownership and the business. And so in the business, when we're working in the business, we're driving growth. We want to drive profitable growth, and we need cash to drive the growth, right? And so it's easy to chase revenue, and it's kind of what we all talk about. Oh yeah, we're, $5 million, $10 million, $100 million company. But that doesn't mean anything if we're not profitable, and the profit doesn't mean anything if we can't convert to cash. So it gets everybody's focus on a core customer. Who's our core customer? And a core customer, as we define it, is first of all, they'll pay you at a premium price. Now, premium price doesn't mean they're paying you at the top. It just means you're not playing in the commodity game. And anybody we're working with, which is typically a family business between 5 and 100 million in revenues, can't play in the commodity business. They often do, but they really can't win in there because they don't have the scale. And it's no fun. And if you don't have scale, meaning you've got to be a large organization to be the low cost provider, so you can be the low price provider. So what happens is, it's easy to just go, well, the market's so competitive, and they keep compressing their margins. And suddenly, they're hardly making any money. And again, we've got to convert whatever we do make on paper to cash. So we probably all have heard in business, cash is king, but I love that adage. Revenue is vanity. It's always good to talk about. It's the big country club talk. It's the
right.
Talk. It's it's the first thing we all talk about. How was revenue? But profit is sanity. Cash is king. If we don't have cash, we're done. Yeah. Literally, right? Literally, businesses can outgrow themselves. They could literally outgrow their ability to generate enough cash. So we keep our eye on all three of those balls. We definitely want to be driving revenue. We want to be doing it profitably. We do that focused on a core customer. And we got to make, core customers pay us at a premium price. They also pay us on time.
Yeah. Amen.
So, right? Cash gets tied up all sorts of places in an organization.
Right.
But fundamentally, kind of three areas to look at. Either your business model needs some tweaking. So maybe the terms of your business, the way you do business, net 30, maybe we could get net 15. Maybe we could get a bigger deposit up front. All sorts of things around the business model. Maybe we were able to take credit cards. Now we can get cash. We'll give up a little bit on the fee to get the cash. All sorts of ways around the business model, how we might improve cash. And then we look at where's all the waste, right? And waste bigger than just foolish use of resources, but errors, mistakes in the organization. We call it a leaky bucket. They're going, every organization's got them. It's just they're not paying attention to them. And sometimes those leaks are extraordinary. And so you're just sort of like, well, that's just part of business. But the amount of cash that you've now, revenue is earned, profit is generated, and now we've converted it to cash, and it's just leaking out of the organization with mistakes or things like that. So finding and closing those gaps on mistakes. And then the third is cycle time. So that's back to, they pay us on time. How can we reduce the time from when we start prospecting, touching a customer, to when they actually pay us? We have a check and we deposit in our bank account. And a lot of things go on in there, right? And Andy, you're in sales. We can chase customers. That's generally bad in the first place, chasing. and you can go after the wrong types of customers.
Absolutely.
They're just not interested. They're not our right customer, that we don't have the right solution. We get a lot of times just caught up in the whole sales cycle. Now we got a deal done. And in your business, it's got to come in-house. We've got to do all the work with the carriers and, get all that lined up. And that can take time. And then we finally get the book out and we send out our premium payment. And then we got to send that out on time. And then we need to get paid on time. All that together, we call the cash conversion cycle. And if we can find ways to compress that, it's your money. Just how do we get it? Because if we don't have cash that's generated by the business, there's only there's no bucket of it laying around. So there's no other places to go for it. We're going to first probably go to the bank,
right?
Which is fine. We can use debt, but if we're using debt because we have poor cash management, that's bad use of debt. Now we're just going to create a bigger problem. Now we're not going to know how to pay back our debt because we're not managing cash. But we could go, and lines of credit are there for those kinds of things, right? Just typically in business, you have gaps between your upfront expenses and final payment. But we'll go to debt, or we go to the shareholders. And that's it. Or bring in another shareholder, another partner. In these private businesses, family businesses, that's where the money comes from. So, to help people get clarity on that, like there is no magic bucket. So, and there's a lot of it sitting here. How do we get it in our hands faster? So.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great. Now, last time I saw you was a little over a month ago, and we saw the great Jim Collins speak. And I'm sitting next to you during this, and I know it hit home to you because you guys play in the same ballpark. And he had the great story, obviously, about talking to a young Jeff Bezos early on in the Amazon days. All I'm thinking about, though, when I think about you is how hard is it for you to walk into a very successful, profit-wise, money-wise, whatever we call it, walk into a very successful business, look at a family who's built the business, and essentially you're telling them things that they need to do better. Everyone who is successful in life, I believe, has a healthy ego. How hard is it for you to have that initial starting conversation of, hey, we're going to kind of tear down the walls here. We're going to talk about things you do well, but we're also going to talk about things that need to improve. I need you to buy in with me.
Yeah. This is a great question. Everybody in business development and sales, the magic is in those initial meetings, right? You're first selling yourself, and then you're selling your business, and then you're trying to solve a problem. We don't tell people what to do. These family businesses, again, living in that system, family, ownership, and the business, and those circles intersect. And that's where lots of challenges come, because there's different perspectives based on what circle or circles you belong in. So somebody just sitting in the ownership circle typically has really one thing on their mind: liquidity and distribution, right? But the business needs cash to grow. So if we're going to pay the shareholders distributions, we don't have as much cash to grow, but we want you to grow. And we want to maintain control. We don't want to have a bank telling us, well, we can't have all of that. So understanding, literally sitting with a business owner and going, what's the dream? Where are you trying to go? What do you want to do with this business? What's the legacy of this business look like? And get them to just start talking to us about what they envision, not about what they're doing today, but where do they want to be? And as that starts to uncover, we start asking about, so what's in the way? What have you tried? What's in the way? And we'll start to uncover, we're not aligned as an ownership group. We the owner, I'm driving the bus. I'm writing all the directions for the bus. Everybody's reporting to me on the bus. Yeah, those kinds of things start to uncover. And then we start digging into that. Well, what if we were able to, for instance, articulate a strategy that everybody was a part of, and we started creating accountability to execute it? Oh my God, that would be fun, right? So it's them telling us where do they want to go, what's in the way, and then we start to peel the onion. And you know, in any business, but especially in ours, it is such a trust game. And most family businesses are they're so protected about who they are, what kind of money they generate, any issues they have, whether it's they don't want anyone to know, or they're embarrassed, or they believe all the crap at the country club that nobody has issues. Everybody does, right? We're all people. We're people,
Right.
people. And we have challenges. We don't communicate well. We have lots of expectations, but we don't make agreements around them. So we just have these expectations and they're unmet, and we're frustrated. Yeah, that you throw a family dynamic on top of that, and it's just exacerbated, right? It's accelerated in some of the nuances that can go on in these family businesses. And it's our belief, we enter in almost always first working on the business, because who doesn't want to improve their business? Like you started this, Glenn, saying, you know, revenue's vanity and profit sanity, cash is king. Everybody wants to do that better. And we do, we want to, that we want a successful business, because our job in all these family businesses, if they engage with us, the big job is to make sure we've got a transferable business. It means we need a business bigger than the owner, right? Which means we need a leadership team. We need to have succession in place. Doesn't mean now, just we've got a methodology. We've got to have an ownership group that's aligned. Misaligned ownership groups are one of the biggest issues, especially in the multi-generational. You know, you start out, it's the husband, wife, let's say, typically, even they can be unaligned, but let's say we can get them aligned. Now they bring in the kids. Typically there's a timing of ownership transition going on there. So the kids start getting some ownership, but you know, love, power, and control is alive and well in there. So how much control do they have with any ownership, and what do they really have a say around, and how much are they really involved in the direction? But we have, you know, 3, 4, 5 shareholders. Are they all aligned? Because whatever's going on in that ownership group is filtering down into the business, either directly or indirectly. Lots of innuendos, body language, you know, fights, disagreements, or true alignment. And when that's aligned and the executive team understands what they're trying to accomplish, that the ownership goals are, yeah, it's the beginning of really having that machine work. So again, going back to your question, how do we convince them? We can't push a string uphill. We work with people that want to take the business to the next level. And the ones that we work with, the next level looks like, I want a legacy. I do want my kids. And the kids might not want to come into the business. They don't know if the kids want to come into the business. They don't know if the kids are competent enough. We give them permission to start having those conversations. And if we've done our job, we've built trust so they know they can have those conversations. The more trust there is, the more they're forthcoming. Yeah. And then it just starts to see, okay, here's what we've seen. Here's what we've done in another business, or here's what I'm thinking about with what's going on. We're going to need more, you know, as we learn more from you, but that's kind of how we begin to unravel it. And some aren't ready to do the work. But most, as you get them to start really articulating their vision, their wishes, you know, what do I really want? What am I really frustrated with? And to know they can trust us and tell us, yeah, then that begins to start to uncover, hey, here's where we could come in and help. And we've got a whole system on that family business system I talked about, you know, the ownership and the family and the business. Our operating system called Value Points overlays that. So we're addressing all 3 of those domains because they're intersecting. So you can address one at a time, but the other 2 are being affected. So a system that really lays over the top of that is what we found successful. And now you've got ownership goals aligned with business goals. You got an owner understanding, you know, once they get their vision out there, they have a place they got a place to point to and go, that's not only where I want to take the business, but that's where I want to be personally. Man, when we get to that, then now we can really do great work.
That's awesome. And my favorite line you said was, you can't push a string uphill. I've never heard that before, and it makes so much sense. We're going to get into halftime real quick. Me and Glenn are each going to ask you a question outside of the work world, lightning round style. And then we're going to have time for probably only one more on the back end. I'll let Glenn ask that, and then we'll get you out of here, Tom. We appreciate it. My question for halftime: what is Tom Garrity's favorite television show of all time?
Oh, jeez. All time.
You didn't think this would be the hardest question you get all day.
Yeah, right. I just saw a clip. My oldest son, Chris, is the meme master in our family. And he sent some clip of an old show. I can't think of what it was. And I went, oh my God, that was funny. So I'm a huge Johnny Carson fan.
Okay.
Seeing Johnny Carson, those old shows, he was a master at what we're doing now, but he did it in person, right? And the way he could get people to talk and tell stories, and his own sense of humor and his little, funny laugh. And I love Johnny Carson.
Awesome. Great answer.
Favorite vacation place? We talked a little bit about this earlier, so maybe that what you mentioned earlier, or is it some other place?
No, it's no question. Bald Head Island, North Carolina.
Okay. It's
my wife and I, it was one of our favorite places to go. It's now my favorite place to go, and my family. That's the favorite. Italy is pretty damn close, but Bald Head.
right. Sign me up for both of them.
Yeah, I'm down for both, but that's great. All right, Glenn, all right. Get this next question in.
All right, my question, quite simply, Andy and I both work with a lot of family businesses. How long does it take the process of planning for succession?
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it takes a long time. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
We can put together a succession plan quick, but like I talk about change, because succession planning is change, right? We're ultimately talking about someone new in a position that currently exists that an incumbent currently in. That's going to be change. Change happens, but transition takes time. Change happens, transition takes time. We can identify.
Change happens, transition takes time. I like it.
So we can create a plan. We can identify somebody, but they might not make it. They might not be the right choice until we get them in a seat that starts elevating their responsibilities, right, and their accountability to see how they behave. Do they have the right emotional intelligence that if we're talking let's just talk at the key spot, because that's the way people most think, the CEO succession, which is hugely important, but all the key positions are important. But if we're at the CEO, we want to sort of test drive, how's somebody going to behave if they're in that position? Are they going to make a big dent in the culture in a not a good way? Are they going to get full of themselves? Do they not understand that just because you have more power, that doesn't mean you're gonna stand over the top of people, or you're gonna be the autocratic dictator of the business. You don't find that out until you start challenging people and get them into some positions where we can see that interaction. So some wash out. One of those, I have a term with business owners. I call it the 5-year revolving succession plan. I'm going to do that in 5 years. And you guys, we all know, if we've had children, we all heard when they were born, oh my God, this goes so quick, take the moments, you're going to love the moments, before you know it, it's over. And it is. And it's the same thing with succession planning. 5 years has gone in a snap. I don't know that you, especially at those levels, you're going to put somebody, you need at least that. But honestly, if you have a good strategy, succession planning is part of your strategy. It's just a part of the business. We don't wait until we need an event. That's the worst time to be in succession strategy, because now we're more into crisis management, and It's probably more replacement than true succession. We have to do it sometimes, but that's generally not a good way to manage and really have the best successes. And they're critical because how do you transition a business? It needs to have value, and it needs a leadership team that's going to be able to run it without you. So succession is just a key piece to all that.
Yeah, just a key piece, just like risk management planning.
It's completely risk management. It is.
Right.
It's what you
gotta
guys
plan.
do as a living. That's what succession planning does for a business.
And very rarely a reaction action is ever as good as a proactive plan.
Yep.
In anything in life.
I always say, well, things will change. Well, of course they will. But we have a map. And when they change, we look at the map and go, okay, now we need to go over here. But we're not like just everything willy-nilly. We'll see what hits today and respond, because that will generally not end up in a good place.
Right. Tom,
Absolutely.
you were great. This is
Well,
great. Glenn, you want to close this down?
Got a lot of good nuggets today, Tom. I'd like to give you like 30 seconds to tell people who you are and how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah. So Compass Point Consulting, we're a strategic and ownership transition company. So we help companies grow. We help them grow value. We help them build a transferable business so it can go to the next generation or next key management, or position that if it's looks for a liquidation, we've got a good, strong business to do that. And all the pieces that go into that. So helping manage, building out a leadership, a lot of work with you guys on, building out a strategy, executing that strategy, designing succession, helping an owner figure out, what's the financial needs you need out of the business, and are we running a business that can meet those? That's the game. That's critical, whatever the owner looks like. And what's next for the owners? That's the work we do, right? And that helps build these strong family businesses, and leaning back in with governance with the family that helps them be, communicate better, get aligned, be on the same page of where they want to see this family business, not the nitty gritty, big picture. What do we want with this family business? So that's the work we do. You can reach me, Tom Garrity, at tgarrity@compasspt.com. That's compasspt.com. You can go on our website, compassp.com. Everything's there as well. You can learn more about us. Really enjoyed being a part of your program today, guys.
We appreciate it.
Fantastic. We could do a lot of sessions with you, Tom. Till next time, my name's Glenn Amaral.
I'm Andy Phillips.
What's in your playbook?